Hello friends, welcome to my channel Basics of Microbiology by Dr. Kiran. So today I will tell you about a disease which is one of the oldest disease of mankind, and it has been there for many centuries. The most important of human infection in its prevalence, morbidity and massive mortality. So I am talking about disease tuberculosis, and this disease is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So let's start. So this tuberculosis disease, the patient comes with the common complaints of fever, cough, sweating, or weight loss and anorexia. That is, there is no desire to have the food. So, which part of the body can be affected by tuberculosis? So, maximally, the cases of TB they come with the lung infection, that is the pulmonary tuberculosis. 80% of the total cases that comes with the TB presentation they are of pulmonary tuberculosis, and rest 15 to 20% they cause disease in the extrapulmonary region, that is among that lymph node involvement, that is the lymphadenitis approximate 35%. Then second most common in the extrapulmonary group is the pleural tuberculosis, usually presents with the pleural effusion. Other than that, there could be involvement of upper airways like larynx, pharynx. It can also involve genitourinary tract like causing the renal tuberculosis. Then in the it can cause a TB spine, that is the POTS disease. It can also affect CNS system, TB meningitis, GI tract. Most common site is the terminal ileum and the cecum. And in the skin, it can also cause the skin tuberculosis, that is the scleroderma, lupus vulgaris, and it can also spread through the when there is a hematogenous spread through the blood when it is spread. So it will cause a disseminated tuberculosis or the miliary tuberculosis, which is usually seen in the HIV case where there is a very low immunity. Now this mycobacterium which is causing this important disease, that is the tuberculosis, it belongs to the Mycobacteriaceae family. And why this name has been given Mycobacterium? Because this bacteria appears like fungus, that is mycelium like. So when we see this bacteria under the microscope after doing staining, so it will have the filamentous form. Branching filamentous form is seen, and it is a acid fast bacteria, that is due to the presence of the mycolic acid is present in its cell wall. It is a non-motile bacteria and non-sporing, non-capsulated. It is a weakly gram positive. So it is very difficult to stain this bacteria due to the presence of certain structures in its cell wall. Therefore, it takes up stain, uh, difficult to take up the stain and also difficult to decolorize it. It is a weakly gram positive bacteria and it is microaerophilic. So this TB, when we classify this bacteria, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, so it is being classified. One complex is there which is responsible for causing TB disease. Among that, most important is the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which is causing the disease only in the humans and is the most common causative agent for causing the tuberculosis. Other than that, certain mycobacterium are there which are causing the disease in the certain animals, and they can cause infection in the humans also. So a complex has been formed, that is a Mycobacterium tuberculosis complex, which all can cause the TB disease in the humans. But remember, most important is the MTB, that is a Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which is the main cause of the infection in the humans. Then next comes the bovis, that is causing the disease in the cattle, and that can transmit it when we are having the unpasteurized milk. So at that time we can get the infection of this Mycobacterium bovis. But the presentation in all these Mycobacterium will be the same presentation like that of tuberculosis. So it is tuberculosis and bovis, Mycobacterium caprae, Mycobacterium africanum, Mycobacterium microti and Mycobacterium caneti. So please remember all these bacteria which come under this complex. Then another Mycobacterium, that is a Mycobacterium leprae, which causes the leprosy. And there are certain non-tuberculous mycobacteria. They are also having the when these bacteria are stained, they also have the mycobacterium like appearance, that is the, but they are not causing the tuberculosis. Then antigenic structure, cell wall antigen, that is the peptidoglycan. It provides shape and rigidity to the bacteria. Arabinogalactan, that cause the survival of tuberculosis bacteria within the macrophages. Mycolic acid, that is, these are the long chain fatty acids and they are attached to the arabinogalactan. So this mycolic acid mainly is important, that is, which is why this bacteria is being called the acid fast bacteria, why it resists the. Then comes the this outermost layer. So it involves the lipids are there, glycolipids, mycosites, certain proteins are inserted, and lipoarabinomannan, which help in binding this bacteria to the macrophages. Then cytoplasmic antigens are there, antigen 5, 6, and 16. So how we are getting infections? That is the main source is the humans who are being infected. That is mainly the pulmonary tuberculosis. They are the person who can spread the infection. That is by the droplet method. Then bovine, the cattle who are being infected when we are having their unpasteurized milk or milk products we are consuming. So at that time we can get this Mycobacterium bovis infection. Then inhalation is the most important method, that is a droplet infection. When a person cough, sneeze or talking, at that time certain droplets are being generated which are carrying this bacteria, and depending upon the size of the droplets, either they are being remains if they are very small size droplet like less than 5 to 10 micron, so they being remain suspended in the air, from there also we can get the infection. Then inoculation method, when we are coming in direct contact with that infected person, so that could also happen, but that is a rare chance. And through the ingestion. Now what are the risk factors for getting this infection? That is, if the person with whom we are coming in contact, if he is sputum positive, so at that time, like when we are testing that sputum and that is being seen positive for the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, so there is a very high chance to get transmitting the infection. And depending the bacterial load in the sputum, if it is more than 10 to the power 4 bacilli per ml, so there will be chances of transmission increases. Overcrowding, or if the patient is having the person is having low cell mediated immunity, because mainly the cell mediated immunity plays role in the Mycobacterium infection. Then droplet nuclei. So how we are getting this infection? First, the person who is being already carrying this bacilli, this bacteria, so when they produce certain droplets, and that will be reached to the other person and they will inhale it, then less than 10% of these droplets will reach to the alveoli, because rest of them will be cleared by the ciliary action of the upper respiratory tract airways. Now, those droplets which are carrying this bacilli reach to the alveoli. So, there, this bacteria, the lipoarabinomannan, these are being present on this bacteria. They will bind to the macrophages, and after binding to the macrophages, this bacteria will enter to the macrophages. That is called as internalization of bacilli. So, bacilli, the bacteria will enter the macrophages, and this is known as the phagocytosis. Now, when this bacteria enter these macrophages, a phagosome will be formed, and there are lysosomes are present within the macrophages. So, this phagosome and lysosome fusion takes place, which will kill this bacteria. But this this lamb, which is the lipoarabinomannan, that will protect the fusion of this phagosome lysosome. So when this fusion is impaired, so the bacteria will not be killed, and the bacteria will replicate inside the macrophage, and when they will replicate, so this macrophage later on will rupture and release this bacteria, and these bacteria will other infect the other phagocytes, other macrophages. So this is how this replication occur and how this spread of now when our immune response, when our immune system get activated, so we have two immune response, that is the cell mediated or the humoral response. So in this case of tuberculosis bacteria, the main role is played by cell mediated immunity, because the humoral immunity only they also help in formation of antibodies, but these antibodies are not protective antibodies. So if they are not protective, so they will not do any action in your favor. So mainly the cell mediated immunity. So how this cell mediated immunity acts? So once the bacteria enters your macrophages, so now your macrophage, what they will do? They will take these bacteria to the T cell. So T cells, we have two type of T cells, T helper cell and T cytotoxic cells. So they will go to the T helper cells. Now T helper cells also there are two. So they will T helper one cell, they will release certain interleukins like interleukin 2 and interferon gamma. Now this interferon gamma will activate the monocytes and macrophages, and they will relay. So once they get activated, they are being called as activated macrophages, and they will lead to the formation of epithelial cells and the giant cells. So what they are doing, they are activating these alluvial macrophages so that they can kill this bacilli. So they will result in the activating these macrophages and will result in the formation of epithelial cells. Epithelial cells, why they are being called epithelial cells? Because these macrophages now they will look like the epithelium cell, therefore they are being called as epithelial cells. So a granuloma will be formed. And what is this granuloma? In the center you will have where this lesion is being present. So there will be the epithelial cells, giant cells. The center is having the epithelial cells and giant cells, and surrounding by the monocytes and the fibroblast cells. So this whole is called as the granuloma, and this granuloma is called as the tubercles. Now there are two type of tubercle, that is the hard tubercle or the soft tubercle. So what is this hard tubercle? That is the center zone containing the activated macrophages like epithelial and giant cells. Whereas in the case of soft tubercle, the center part क्या होता है? It will undergo the necrosis. So it will form the cavity formation will take place. So Mycobacterium tuberculosis being inhibited in this necrotic environment, and what will happen? Lesion will heal and it will become calcified. Then tissue damage. Sometimes when these macrophages are not able to being activated to that level, so at that time what other thing can happen? That is our body will have the hypersensitivity reaction, that is called as the tissue damaging response. So caseous necrosis, that caseous necrosis which we have seen in the soft tubercle, that will get liquefied, and then this liquefied necrosis will enter these airways and will spread the infection. Also it will come as the expectorant, that is the sputum. Humoral, I have already told you the antibodies are not protective. So this is how this granuloma formation, you can easily see these are the epithelial cells. So what are the epithelial cells? They are the activated macrophages only, and they are being resemble like that of the epithelium. And certain giant cells are seen, that is having the multiple nuclei are there and surrounded by the your lymphocytes, fibroblasts all are there. So this is a granuloma. So this is mainly a healing stage. Now this is the gone focus, you can see. So what is this gone focus? So mainly when this there are two type of tuberculosis, that is the primary tuberculosis and secondary tuberculosis. Primary tuberculosis occurs usually in the children where there is a formation of Ghohn's focus, that is the fibrotic calcified nodule. So in the X-ray you are seeing this fibrotic calcified nodule is being seen, and along with that when there is a hilar lymphadenopathy is there, then it is known as the primary complex. So patient of this primary tuberculosis, they can be asymptomatic. Usually they are children. So they are getting the infection for the first time from the exogenous source, and they could be asymptomatic or there could be fever or productive cough or hemoptysis, but they are rare, and lesion heals spontaneously and that could calcify. If the immunity is impaired, then there could be progressive disease. And what is secondary pulmonary tuberculosis? That is either it is the another exogenous infection or it is a reactivation of the endogenous infection. What is endogenous? Matlab, that is the person is already having the primary tuberculosis at the time of young age, and that could get reactivated, that is the endogenous source. And this is usually seen secondary tuberculosis in the adults, and there the calcified nodules are being formed, that is known as the Asman focus. Like we are saying Ghohn's focus in the primary tuberculosis, it is the Asman focus. And what could happen to this? Either the calcified nodules are being formed or there could be necrosis. So that will lead to the cavity formation, and if the cavity formation is there, so it will goes into the airways, and the patient will have the same symptom, but now the patient will be more symptomatic in nature. It can spread to other lung also. It will also come out back, that is as expectorated in the form of sputum, and there could be the hematogenous spread also. So that is the two type of tuberculosis. So this is the Ghohn's focus which is being seen in the primary tuberculosis. Now, the epidemiology of this infection, that is 1/3 of the world population is infected with the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So that is the very important thing. 1/3 of having this bacteria within their body. But when their immune system is being impaired, then only they will develop the disease. So many of us even having this bacteria within our body. So if we are having strong immunity, so we are not getting the disease. But anyhow, if we are due to any reason, if our immunity goes down, so at that time we can also have the tuberculosis disease. So 5 to 10% within their whole lifespan they develop this disease. So in WHO in 2016 they have given the data that the 10.4 million new cases have come and 1.7 million deaths have occurred throughout the world. And the total burden of tuberculosis, 64% of all the cases which have been reported throughout the world, 64% cases come from the 6 to 7 countries. That is the India on the top, then comes the Indonesia, China, Philippines, Pakistan, Nigeria and South Africa. And it is the most common opportunistic infection among the person who are having the HIV infection. So comes to the diagnosis. So what are the samples? That is, as pulmonary tuberculosis is the most common disease, most common type of tuberculosis. So sputum is the first sample which we will have with the. Then the children, they are not able to expectorate out the sputum. So there we have to take the gastric aspirate, or there could be the bronchoalveolar lavage. Then in case of sputum, how many sample we need to take? That is the two samples we have to take. That is the spot sample. When the patient has come to you, at the same moment you have to take that sample, and you will ask the patient to come to another day early in the morning, because in early morning we are thinking and we are having this finding that the this bacilli detection will be high if we are taking the early morning sample. So we have to take two samples, spot and early morning. Then 2 to 5 ml we have to take in a screw capped sterile container, and you will give certain instruction to the patient, and he will expectorate out. So there should be no saliva in that. Maximum part should be the expectorant, and it should be the mucopurulent. Then extrapulmonary tuberculosis, so depending upon which site infection is there, like if it is TB meningitis, then you will have the CSF sample. If it is kidney involvement, then urine. Then pleural fluid, pericardial fluid, synovial fluid. So there are so many samples according to, or they could be the biopsies also. Like you second most common among the extrapulmonary is the lymphadenitis, so we have to take the lymph node biopsy there. So depending upon the site, the different samples could be processed. Now the conventional method, although this bacteria, because it is very slow and takes, because it has a generation time of 15 to 16 hours. So what is the generation time? That is when the bacteria replicate. So what time it takes to replication, that is the generation time. So it has a long generation time, so it is very slowly it grows, and we have to wait for 6 to 8 weeks when we are growing it. So there are now many methods like molecular automated techniques have come, but still conventional method is the gold standard method. And we have to always, whenever you have any question comes on the tuberculosis diagnosis, so you have to mention this conventional method, because this is the main method we are following in our labs, and we should remember these conventional methods. So That is most important is the staining technique. So staining technique, we are doing a Zn staining, that is a Zeal Nielsen staining, and this is a acid fast staining. So in this we take the thick mucopollulant part of the sputum, and then we do the we take the or if we are having the fluids, like we have this pleural fluid, pericardial fluid, if you are having the urine, so you have to concentrate those fluids and you have to take that sediment. So you have to stain with the this method of staining, Zn staining. And when we will examine these slides, so at least 100 oil immersion fields should be examined before we are declaring these slides to be negative. Now, how this bacteria appear when we are seeing under the microscope, under the oil immersion that is a lens. So this Mycobacterium will appear as the long, slender, and they are beaded, and they are red color acid fast bacilli. And RNTCP grading, that is a revised national tuberculosis control program, they have given the grading, how to grade these samples who are coming positive. So this grading is very important. So this you can see, this is the Zn staining, and we are seeing the this acid fast positive stain, that is the beaded Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So what is this RNTCP grading? So has been done on the basis of how many bacteria we are seeing under the oil immersion field. So if we are seeing no acid fast bacteria, we will report it. So we have to see at least 100 fields or 15 minutes of screening should be there. Then only we can report it negative. The second is, if we are noticing 1 to 9 bacteria within 100 fields we have seen, then you have to initially in the past we used to report it as scanty, but now we have to give exact number, like we have seen 2 bacteria within the 100 field, so we will write 2 per 100 field oil immersion field. Okay, then comes the third is the when they are 10 to 99 within the 100 oil immersion field, you have seen more than 10 bacteria, so you will give as 1 plus. If it is 1 to 10 per field, you are noticing 1 to 10, so you it is 2 plus. And if it in the per field, if you are noticing more than 10 bacteria, so it is 3 plus. 3 plus. So what's the significance of this RNTCP grading? Significance is that when we are doing this grading in the Zn staining, so at that time we are able to know how much the patient is infectiousness. That is, if the patient is of 3 plus, so there is very high chance that he is spreading the infection with all the person who are coming in contact, that is by the droplet infection. The second is monitoring the patient treatment. So when we are treating the patient, if the patient has come to you in 1 plus grade, and when you are giving, you have started the treatment, and after that the grade has been changed, either it has reached to 2 plus or it has come down. So if it is going up, that is the grade is increasing, that is the bacteria is increasing, that means the bacteria is not sensitive to your and drugs which you are giving for the treatment of this. So that is how we can monitor our treatment, we can know whether the bacteria is resistant to the drug, so we can go for the drug susceptibility testing. So this is how this is very important, and to know how the patient is responding. Then second is the quinones staining. So this is known as the cold staining, because in this we are not heating the stain, whereas in Zn staining we are heating the stain. And in this what we do, that is the phenol concentration being increased in the carbamazepine, and the duration of staining we also increase. And usually it is being preferred in those samples where we don't want to change the morphological changes due to the heating. So usually we preferred in the stool samples, like in the HIV patients, when we are want to know about the coccidian parasites, so there also we do the modified staining, so there we can go for the quinones method. Then another is the fluorescent staining method, that is we are using the fluorescent dye there, and then we are visualizing under the fluorescent microscope. The advantage for that is that we are screening at the 20x objective, so they will be faster screening as compared to the, because वहाँ पे हम लोग 100x पे screen कर रहे हैं, so there it takes much more time, here it is faster to screen. it is more sensitive, but false positive chances be high होते हैं in case of fluorescent staining. This you can see fluorescent stained bacteria. Then comes the culture, that is the gold standard. And in staining, we cannot say whether the bacteria are alive or dead, but in culture, it will also tell you that the bacteria is alive bacteria you are seeing. If it is growing, that means the bacteria are alive. So in the Zn staining, we can only see the bacteria when it is more than 10 to the power 4 bacilli per ml. But culture is more sensitive, as even 10 bacilli are there, they can grow and they will tell you that the patient is having positive for the TB disease. So 10 to 100 bacilli, even it can detect, and it will tell you the whether the bacteria are viable or not, whether they are dead bacteria, and we can also go for the drug sensitivity by this method. Then digestion, decontamination, concentration. So when we are having the sample for tuberculosis, we have to digest it, we have to decontaminate. Digestion means we are liquefying the sample, like we having the sputum sample, they are very thick, so we have to liquefy these samples, we have to decontaminate it, because they could be the normal flora, normal bacteria could be there, which could hamper its growth. It can liquefy these medias, like we having the Lowenstein-Janssen media that can be liquefy this other bacteria which are present in the sample, and we are not able to isolate the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Then concentration, so we have to increase the concentration of bacteria within the sample which we are using for the culture or for the staining, so that the diagnostic rate can be increased by the concentration technique. So these three steps are very important while we are doing the culture, and we are dealing with the that is the non-sterile samples like sputum or the non-sterile side samples. So we have to liquefy it, inhibit the flora, and increase the yield. So there are Petrov's method, they are Petrov method, they are modified Petrov method. So in modified Petrov method, we are using 4% of sodium hydroxide to this for this procedure. Then we have another method, that is the NALC and 2% NaOH. So here we are using the N-acetyl L-cysteine method, which is liquefying the sputum, and 2% NaOH, it is killing the normal flora. Then what medias we are using? So this is the most important media, which is the most preferred media, that is a Lowenstein-Janssen media. Now what this media contains? It contains the hen's egg, mineral salt, asparagine, malachite green. So these eggs, they act as the solidifying agent, and this when we inoculate the sample, we incubate it for the, and one thing I want to tell you about this media, that is the Lowenstein-Janssen media solidifying agent. I have already told you, normally in the other medias we have the agar as a solidifying, here we have in the egg, and this media is being sterilized not by the your autoclave method, but by the institution method. So that is very important, which is being asked in the viva, and it is being incubated for 6 to 8 weeks before we are declaring that there is no growth on the medium. And how, which type of colonies we get for TB bacteria? That is the rough, buff, and tough. That is, they are creamy in color, they are rough, that is they are rough in appearance, and tough, that is it's not easily you cannot remove this colony, and not easily emulsifiable. Whereas in comparison to this Mycobacterium bovis, they have a smooth, moist, and white colored colonies, and they are easily break up. Other medias which we can use, that other solid media like Dorset media, Tarshis media, that is a blood based media, then Loeffler's media, serum based media, then Pawlowski's media, it is a potato based media. So these medias are being asked regularly in the viva, so please memorize it properly. So this is the Lowenstein-Janssen media, you can see the colonies, and this green color, this media is due to the presence of the malachite green. Now the liquid medias which can be used, Dubose, Middlebrooks. Middlebrooks we have 7H9, 10, 11 and 12. So 7H9 and 12 they come in the liquid media, whereas the 10 and 11 comes in the solid media. Then Prosecutors and Bax media is there, Sulas and Sortons. So they are certain liquid medias. So you should know these media for the Viva question. Now, once you have inoculated the sample, so please remember you have to do, if you are taking the sputum sample, you have to do digestion, decontamination. So this is being regularly being asked how to process the sample when you are inoculating in the for culture. So once you have inoculated, you have get the growth on the media. So what we will do, that is the, you have to check the colonies, then you will do the microscopic examination from that growth. That is the, like we are doing in the bacteriology, simple, you have to do the staining, but staining we are doing for this is Zetton staining. And once you have noticed these acid fast bacteria there, then it is confirmatory that you are getting this growth, and then you can go for certain biochemical testing like catalase test, niacin nitrate, pyrazinamidase test. So now comes to the quick revision. So tuberculosis is one of the ancient disease and most common infectious disease throughout the world. It is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which is an acid-fast bacteria having the mycolic acid present in the cell wall. Now there are many bacteria which comprise as the Mycobacterium tuberculosis complex, which causes the tuberculosis disease. And patient of tuberculosis comes with the presentation of fever, then there could be hemoptysis, there could be sputum production, cough, weight loss, anorexia and sweating. Mode of transmission mainly from the humans or could be from the bovine, that is mainly by the droplet infection. It enters, how it causes disease, that it enters your body, reaches to the lungs, taken up by the alveolar macrophages, and internalization and prevention of the fusion of phagosome and lysosome replicate, ruptures and releases the bacteria, and they will infect more and more macrophages. Which immune response is mainly playing role in your body, that is the cell mediated immunity, which is playing and lead to the formation of granuloma by means of the certain cytokine, that is the interferon gamma, which is most important, which cytokine which is playing the role activating the macrophages and formation of epithelioid and giant cells. Mainly the disease tuberculosis affecting mainly the lungs. Pulmonary tuberculosis is the most important, 80% of this. And within the extra pulmonary tuberculosis, lymphadenitis, that is the lymph node involvement, that is the most important. Then second is the pleural involvement, that is a pleural effusion is there. For lab diagnosis, in case of pulmonary tuberculosis, most important sample is the sputum. In the extrapulmonary, they are depending upon the which disease is coming, you can take the different samples, and from these samples you will go for the Zetton staining, which is the most important. Other staining which you can perform, that is the fluorescent kinea, but mainly we are doing the Zetton staining. For culture, convention method are the most important. So you are going on the Algae media. Before doing the culture, we have to do the digestion, decontamination and the concentration technique. And there are other medias you can have the Dorset media, Tarsus media and Loeffler's media. Within liquid media you have the Middlebrook and Prosecco's. So other automated techniques and this treatment I will tell you in the next presentation. So that is all for the today's video, and hope so you today's lecture is slightly lengthy because this topic is very vast and everything is very important within this topic. Hope so you have you must have learned many things in this lecture, and if you really like it, please like it and share it.